If you hate the horrors of this system, Saturday, March 16th, spend the day at the premiere of the film B.A. Speaks, Revolution, Nothing Less, at the AMC Magic Johnson Harlem 9 at 1 p.m.
My dear brother, Blvd. He's one of the few coming out of the 60s who never sold out. He never gave up. He has such a deep love for poor people, oppressed people, all around the world. And whether you agree or disagree with our brother, one thing you cannot deny, that he is the real thing.
B.A. Speaks, Revolution, Nothing Less. 6.5 hours of Blvd that can change how you see the world and what you do with your life. Saturday, March 16th, AMC Magic Johnson, 1 to 8 p.m. For tickets, Revolution Books, 212-691-3345, www.revcom.us.
And let me say one thing to the white people in the audience. Now, you know Bobby has been saying for a long time, we will not fight racism with racism. We refuse to stoop to the level of a racist to hate somebody because of the color of his skin. Well, that's fine. But I see a lot of white people walking around and say, oh, good. Now the Black Panther Party don't hate me. I can go on about my business. That's a cop-out. And if you act like that, the Black Panther Party will hate you. Not because you're white, but because you ain't taking care of business to organize other people. Teach them the need to support the black liberation movement led by the Black Panther Party as a strong, fearless voice against American imperialism, and to link up with all the people in Vietnam, in China, in Angola, in Latin America, and everywhere else who are standing shoulder to shoulder to drive this vicious beast out of the way and out of the pages of history. And some people say, yeah, well, okay, but how do we know that you won't be like others before you? How do we know you and your party won't be like the other groups that have come along in this country and others? How do we know that you won't sell out and revolution won't be betrayed, either before it even happens or after it, when you just try to turn it into your own thing for your own benefit? Well, I'll say this first of all. I myself, speaking for myself personally, have been fighting this system politically for 15 years. I've been a revolutionary for 12 and a conscious communist for 10 or more, and I got no intention of being or doing anything else as long as I'm alive and for as long as I can contribute to the struggle, and they're going to have to kill me to stop me from doing that, and we're going to fight to see that that doesn't happen either. It's not just a question that we have revolutionary determination. We've fought to get to the point where we are, to develop the revolutionary line that we have, to have the grasp and application of the revolutionary theory that we have. And there's going to be many sharp struggles to safeguard, to protect, defend that, and to apply and enrich and deepen in the process of leading not just thousands, but ultimately millions of people. And finally, I'm going to put it back to you in answering this question. If you want this party to remain on the revolutionary road, if you want this party to continue to be a sharp weapon of the working class and oppressed people for revolution and not turn into another dagger in the people's back, if you want that to happen, then you got a role to play in that. Because if you want to be emancipated, you're going to have to emancipate yourself. Ain't no saviors coming from heaven. Ain't no pope going to do it for you. Goddamn Secretary drowning Kennedy ain't going to do it either. We're going to have to emancipate ourselves if we want to be emancipated, and that's the only way it can be done anyway.
So for capitalism and every system based on exploitation and oppression, the only kinds of ideas it can produce and the kinds of ideas it promotes as the ruling ideas are, not surprisingly, ideas that justify all this exploitation and oppression, that teach people that this is the natural order of things, and that encourage people to try to become big dogs in this dog-eat-dog world. If this kind of world, this kind of system, if this were all that is possible, that'd be one thing. And you see people, even those who are brutally oppressed under this system, as long as they believe this is the only kind of world that's possible, you see them going along with this all the time. I got to get mine. I got to get what I can get within this. It's time to get yours. This reminds me of the story of the prisons in California, and in particular what was called the Corcoran Shoe, where the guards there would take prisoners and they'd tell them stories about each other, get them angry at each other, and they'd literally put them in pens like in the old Roman Colosseum, and they'd let them out of the pens and they'd come in and start fighting with each other, sometimes to the death. And the guards would be standing above watching all this, laughing and betting on the outcome, and if it got out of hand, they'd shoot one or more of the prisoners. This was a whole scandal that finally broke into the open in the California prisons. Well, if you just look from inside that, here you are, and the door opens, and you run out in this arena, and you start throwing hands and everything else you can with the other person who's there, you might say, I'm a bad motherfucker. I'm handling this situation. But if you back the camera up a little bit, and look at the larger picture, what's happening? You're being handled. You're being put in this horrible situation by these people standing above you, laughing, betting, and ready to kill you if they see it in their interest. And that's a miniature picture, a microcosm, as they say, of what the world is like today and the way that people get caught up in going along with this. You hear these people say, I'm on this corner selling my product. I'm regulating the corner. You ain't regulating shit. You're just being regulated. You're just being put there and allowed to be there as long as what you're doing serves the people who really regulate things, who really run this system, for as long as it serves them or doesn't get in their way. You hear people say, sometimes they get caught up in all this stuff about the hood. This is our hood. Can't nobody come in here and take over our hood. This is not your hood. You don't own this. You don't run it. You don't control it. The people who own it and run it and control it are just using you. They're just letting you be played like this and carry on with all this foolishness and dangerous stuff, killing each other off because it serves their interests, while they're keeping you in these miserable conditions, not really different than the prisoners in the Corcoran shoe. It makes me think of a situation where you walk into a scene where there's a man got a gun in one hand and a big club in the other, and he's got everybody lined up. And he goes down the line breaking everybody's legs. And somebody jumps up and says, all right, Dan, I'm going to be the baddest broke-leg motherfucker there is. Something's wrong here. What we need to be doing is saying, hey, that man's breaking everybody's legs. Let's get together and stop that motherfucker from breaking everybody's legs. Now, I understand how people try to make the best of their circumstances. They say, you didn't give me nothing else, you didn't leave me nothing else, so I'm going to take this, and at least this way I can get some respect before I go out. So we can understand this. But again, let's step back and look at the larger picture, the larger world. Because we, the masses of people, are capable of much greater things than this. We are capable of completely and radically changing our circumstances, changing all of society to get rid of circumstances like these. What happens in the world affects us, and we can affect the world. And when all is said and done, we can change the whole world together with people like us all over the world.